This will be recorded, so it'll be, we'll send this out all to the owners afterwards, everyone. So if you have any other questions after this is done, you can email all that. So first off, thanks to Rochelle with Pilmer PR, helped me put this together. With the way the owners conference went, this is something that we're going to try to do once a quarter for all the owners, just on different topics, and then we'll still do the annual owners conference with different topics so that we can keep you guys informed and everything that's going on. So if there's topics that you guys would like to know more about, let us know. This is a topic that we have to have conversations with owners all the time. And with some of the market shifts, I figured this would be a good time as ever. So I'd also like to thank Rob with Legacy Flooring. He's like my go-to guy with flooring. So when I say, hey, I'm going to get a bid with flooring, this is the guy. They're usually always the cheapest. So if you say, hey, I want 2 bids, like we can do it, but they usually always beat them. So it's high quality stuff, and they're just great to work with. So I talked to him about 6 weeks ago about doing this, and he jumped on board. So kind of the format of what we'll do here is I'll be going through some of the things, a couple of quick things we're seeing in the market. We'll go through pros and cons of pet friendly. You guys can interrupt with any questions or anything you have throughout. And then Rob will kind of close us out talking about some of the pet friendly products and stuff that they have, how that'll work, and answer any questions you have there. So any questions on any of that? Okay, so one word of note, Shauna's out. She had a teeth cleaning that went to, turned into a root canal. So she's out today. Eva's going to be in and out. So if I have to like multitask and sign receipts for people bringing in rent since it's the 5th, I apologize for multitasking, but I figure you guys want your money. So we'll go through with that. So let me share my screen here real quick. Everyone see that?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So I didn't have any other fancy name to call it. So we'll just call it the pet friendly presentation. So first thing, part of the reason we're looking at this is the market is shifting. There's multiple reasons that we're seeing it here locally, but you're actually, we're, fitting it with a national trend. So rentals are taking a little bit longer than they have to fill. We're starting to see a little bit of rent decrease in certain avenues. And part of that's just basically, I mean, people can only afford so much in rent. So you're starting to see a little correction that way. And then a couple other things here locally, one, statewide that you're seeing, but then other locally. So like at the first of the year, you had one developer come in and they flooded the market with a whole bunch of the 4-bedroom units, townhomes. And then they flooded them with some 3 bedrooms. So there's just a whole lot of stuff that's currently on the market. The other thing that's come to fruition, and it's taken a little bit longer, but you're starting to see it, is where the Utah Rent Relief Program is out of funds. People that were able to stay in housing or through that government support, or be able to pay the inflated rent prices because they were able to get support that way. You're starting to see a lot of those come on the market. People can't afford it. So like I know within net gain alone last year, we received over $222,000 in rent relief checks. So with that well dried up, that's just kind of where we're sitting. So here's some stuff from Show Mojo. It's a company I'm looking to partner with. As we went over, so nationwide market times are 28% longer to get a unit filled than they have been. And then rent reductions are at the highest since 2017. So just about 6 years. So with that, it's time to get a little bit more creative. That's the other reason this conversation is, okay, how do we make our properties more attractive? It's what I've been doing since I started. How do we get net gain to be more attractive to people? It's obviously not me because I'm not very attractive. There's not much to work with here. So it has to be what we have to offer. So one of the big demands is to go pet friendly or not. It's a conversation we have with everyone. We'll have a little bit of a conversation on ESAs and emotional support animals, but we won't go into a whole lot of detail on that. This will just be, should I go pet friendly or not? So as you can see, here's some of the cons. In fact, I had 2 text messages to Rob on Friday because I was on a good streak of not much pet damage. And then Friday, one was my unit, and then in another one of my units, and then one was in a unit that we're looking to pick up, and the owner was in a panic. So the cons, obviously, there's always increased risk to damage to the property. There's just no way around it. Pets are going to be pets. I've had cats, I've had dogs. Sometimes dogs get old. I mean, my personal rental, when we were living in it and we went to move out, I remember having a conversation with the people we were moving in. They're like, oh, no, you don't have to replace the carpet. And I was like, I didn't want to go too graphic, but, my dog literally died on that carpet. And she had a rough last few months before, and so I'm like, you can't be like, my dog died and I'm not going to have you live on that carpet. You have young kids. So we're going to replace it. So there is risk, just the nature of animals. The other thing, and while this is a positive in some ways, when we talk about protecting your property and deposits and pet rent and stuff, this is a negative. Because with ESAs, with fair housing, you're not able to collect any additional fees for ESAs. Now, the advantage is that, people, they know, cool, they can't reject me because I have an ESA, because I've already said it's pet friendly and different things like that. So it does increase the likelihood when we do say, hey, it's pet friendly, that people with ESAs that are struggling to find a place for whatever reason become more attractive to that. Some of the pros. On average, so a lot of these statistics now are going to be coming from a study done in 2001. If you would like a copy of that study, let me know and I can email that on to you. That just talked about the benefits of pet-friendly housing and some of the things that you can do. It's a way cool study. I've been able to pattern some of my policies with pets off of this and some of the recommendations. So on average, residents of pet-friendly housing stay about 20% longer than non-pet friendly. So that's about an additional 10 months nationally. There's additional revenue that will go over. And then there's just more tenants to choose from. And then the empty units fill up faster. And 40%, 42.6% of pet owners are millennials. So as this younger generation is coming up and getting ready to move into rentals, they're renting longer. And so that's a huge base to be able to pull from. So how do we protect your investment? Because that's realistically what we do. Is you hire us and we try to protect your investment so you can make money and minimize the cost. So about 6 years ago, we partnered with a company called petscreening.com. We have our own custom URL. So anyone with a pet applies, they screen them. There is an additional fee if it's not an ESA. And then we get all the vaccination records and all that jazz on there. And that's awesome. They also do all our ESA screening and verification of the letters. So since we've done that, we've only had 2 pet issues with ESAs. One was on Friday that I emailed Rob on. The other one was more the tenant issue, was the tenant was not smart more than the dog. And we've got about 20% of our units that are currently pet friendly. So we've rented to, between ESAs and they're pet friendly, we've probably had a couple hundred pets through all our units over the last, few years. The other thing that we do, the standard, is we charge a 10% monthly pet rent. So if the rent is $1,000, we charge $100 a month. If someone is going to be paying $100 a month just so that they can have their pet with them, whether it's a dog, a cat, they usually are going to take a little bit better care of it. And that's been one of the things that's been great, and has minimized the downturn. And if you look like the carpet's getting close to to be need to be replaced, then sometimes you'll hear me call and like, you're going to want to make this one pet friendly. And this is one of the things we do, and then it helps generate the revenue stream that you can help minimize the upfront cost when you do replace that flooring. We do the inspections about every 4 months as we're growing. It used to be 3, now we're at 4. We have occasionally found pet damage, and we say you have a week to get this fixed. And then we'll go back in and get that, make sure it's all fixed and taken care of. That way it minimizes surprise at move out. Sometimes it still happens, but those inspections, which most of you guys should be receiving copies of those. If not, let me know, and we can go from there. So the other cool thing is, so where we require tenant liability insurance or renter's insurance, if they go through our company on tenant liability, there's a $500 or up to $500 in pet damage coverage. So with this, you've got, say, the other thing that's on here is with our increased deposits, where we went to a rent and a half on deposit. So for protection here for your property, just for pets, we'll say theoretically the rent is $1,000 a month. Deposit is $1,500, so you've got $1,500 protection. You've got $500 in pet damage with the liability insurance, so you're up to $2,000, and then at 10% a month pet rent, that's an additional $1,200, so you're sitting at $3,200 to help protect. Which, if a property is about $1,000 a month in rent, like $3,200 should cover a decent amount of the flooring, or some of those repairs. Any questions on anything that we've gone over so far? We've thrown a lot at you and gone quick. Whoop. Okay. So with that, if there's no other questions, I'm going to turn the rest of the time over to Rob to go over some of the products and pricing. You guys can pepper him with all sorts of questions. And then I'll kind of close up on how it all works together. And then you guys, if you're going, hey, I do want to make this pet friendly, my units in the future pet friendly, we can put together that plan for you. So with Rob, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, sounds good. That was awesome. Thanks, Derek. So my name is Rob Henderson. I'm the general manager for Legacy Flooring Center here in Cedar. We cover all of southern Utah, pretty much from Beaver, Richfield, down through St. George. One thing that's really nice about us is we're all pretty young. We have young families. We tend to be very aggressive on our pricing. One of my favorite things in the world is to beat Home Depot. And I think a lot of people that are surprised by that. I mean, if you're going to buy a hammer or a simple tool, fine, swing by Home Depot. But if you're going to buy flooring, that's all we do. That's our bread and butter. What you can't see behind me is a window that goes to our warehouse. We've got about 12,000, maybe a little more, 15,000 square feet of warehouse space that we store all this. So we keep a large amount of material on hand. Some of it's for some people that are waiting for the install. So a lot of it, though, is our inventory that we keep to jump on jobs like yours. So as far as pet friendly, I'm going to start by talking about carpet. Obviously, flooring is flooring. If you want to find a way to ruin it, you certainly can. But there are some things that we can do that'll last longer and be better. Sometimes we just get bad tenants and people that just don't care. And that's unfortunate, but we'll help put it back together. We've had a couple of projects recently where homes just don't even remotely look the same. We went in and put new flooring in, and then Derek had some people put new paint in, and it just looked incredible. So it can really make a huge difference. But as far as carpet goes, so we stock a lot of carpet. I know it's gonna be hard to tell over the video. And can you guys see me? Is it showing me?
Yeah, we can see you, Rob.
Okay. All I can see is Derek. Okay, so we have stuff that's kind of in the browner tones. I don't know how well you can see it. that's affordable carpets. These tend to be around $14 a yard. For those of you who don't know, carpet's always done in a square yard, which is 3 foot by 3 foot. These tend to be kind of your entry level. We've got a brown one that we stock all the time. This gray one, some of you might even have this in your units because we've used it before. It kind of matches everything. It looks really nice. We keep a ton of it in stock. They're great products. They're polyester, very affordable. One of the benefits of polyester, not only is the affordability, but that it cleans well. So when we get like T-Bird carpet cleaners in there, it tends to clean out really well. The coloration on them is going to hide a lot too, but that's kind of what we think about when we think about these investment properties. One, you're not going to break the bank. Two, is it going to give us what we need as far as cleanability? Like I said, if a dog comes and starts chewing on the carpet, there's not much we can do there. It happens, but we go in there and we help put it back together. Now, one thing that we do on carpet as well is we actually stock quite a bit of a little bit nicer carpet. We'll buy it in bulk to bring what would normally be a somewhat expensive carpet down to a really reasonable price range. So for those of you who might have a rental that's not just for students, maybe it needs to be a little bit nicer, we keep a lot of that in inventory as well. Some of them are like a thicker, plush, really soft carpet. We kind of keep a variety of colors that tend to be pretty neutral. They kind of match a lot. There are a handful of nicer patterns that we stock. This is one that I showed Derek and a handful of other people not too long ago. It's made in Dubai. We just get some longevity. It's got a specialized backing on it. And so it's still polyester, so it cleans out really well, but it's just beautiful. So some of you that might have a higher end rental that you're like, well, I want something that's pulled down really tight. It's going to be cleanable and it's going to look really sharp. This is some of these patterns can look really nice in some of those settings. They can really pop, especially when people are walking through it and you're trying to get renters in there. So that's just a splash. We stock several more carpets than that. Those are just some of our, probably our best sellers right now that have the biggest benefits. Now, as far as being pet friendly, they are still considered pet friendly. Carpet is still actually pet friendly, aside from if an animal decides to start chewing on it. But carpet also tends to be your most affordable to replace, but then it tends to be the one that you have to replace more often. So there's kind of a balance in there. If you get a good renter, then it's a great investment. They can be on it for, at least a few years and the carpet still looks nice. If you get someone that's rough on it, then it's really nice to have all those, the pet friendly money that Derek was talking about. So as far as carpet goes, and I'll lead into the LVP, which is even more pet friendly, but as far as carpet goes, it seems like the typical rental unit around here is going to be between 75 and about 110 yards. So sometimes that can be about a three bedroom with some halls, stairs, and maybe even a living room in there. On an entry level carpet, that's going to put us somewhere around $2,000 to replace that carpet. So as far as that money that Derek was having, that would definitely be enough to cover that. If we're closer to that, like 110 yards, a little bit bigger of a rental. Some of them get even bigger than that, but that's where we're typically are. We're probably gonna be somewhere closer around $3,000.
110 yards, but how big, how much square footage is that?
Oh yeah, let me.
I'm gonna have you do math.
Yeah, no problem. So that put us around 110 yards is just shy of 1,000 square feet of carpet. So thank you. Sorry, sometimes I get so used to converting all this in my mind. I should be more conscientious that you guys are not used to yardage. As far as pad, we typically just do a nice pad. We don't really mark up the pad at all. So it's usually just your affordable option is do like an 8-pound half-inch pad. It lasts a little bit longer. It helps the longevity of the carpet. If you go to a place like a Home Depot or somewhere that they're just trying to hit rock bottom pricing, and that pad, if they put something just super cheap under there, it actually wears out your carpet faster. So we'd rather sell you the pad at a typical cheap price and just get a little more longevity out of the carpet. Essentially, we get happier customers and more returning customers, and it's worked out great for us. So I think that's where. Do you have any questions on carpet before I move on from carpet? Okay. So we do stock a lot of LVP. As far as being pet friendly, that's kind of where Derek and I have been moving a lot of these units, is to being the luxury vinyl plank. For those of you who don't know, most of them are a click together, a lock together plank that we can install throughout the home. sometimes when it's an existing house, there's some floor prep that we have to do to make sure all the floors level. Once we tear out carpet and pad, sometimes we find that the subfloors aren't always level. Maybe they added a 1/4 inch subfloor to the kitchen. It tends to be something that was really popular to do in the 80s and 90s. So after we do that floor prep, we can go in and put LVP throughout the house. And a lot of times we're doing it in bedrooms too. And the reason being is we just get more life out of the floor. Now, they certainly can still scratch it. They can beat it up, but it does hold up really well. We don't do any overly cheap products. Everything that we do, we just buy it in bulk to bring the price down. So it's still less than what you'd be paying at like a Costco or a Home Depot, but we're getting a better quality. And really what we do is we are limited on colors because we buy it in bulk and we can't stock every color. So we pick the ones that tend to be our best sellers. They are beautiful. They look really nice and classy, but we buy it in huge quantities to help bring that price down so we can sell it to you guys and have a better performance. Now those LVPs, like if you were going to Home Depot, they have a wear layer, and on that, it's that top of the plank. Let me hold up a sample here. So you've got this wood plank. This is one of the ones that we stock. It's called Antique Willow. It's a little bit of an upgrade. It's a bigger, longer plank, but what you can't see is on this image, this grain that looks like wood, embedded into this is a wear layer. So it's kind of like a heavy duty plastic that's been imprinted into this to help protect it. And it's really what's taking the traffic of your people, your tenants walking on it and beating it up. So that usually starts around 4 mils, and that's the thickness that it's referring to. 4 mil and 6 mil, that's a lot of what they have at Home Depot. They do have some 20 mil, even some of their stuff that's thicker like what we have. It just doesn't seem to perform. And I think a lot of that is just being imported from China. It's just cheap. And they say it's 20 mil, and I'm just not sure it is. But here we have stuff that's in our showroom. We beat it up like crazy. We know it performs really well for us. This one right here is a 20 mil. And not only that, when they do a clear coat finish over the top of this, they add a ceramic bead to it. And it just really helps the hardening. We get a lot more scratch resistance out of it. Now, if they start taking tools and knives and stuff across this, they're going to find a way to damage it. But for the most part, it holds up really, really well. Even in our showroom, if you ever get a chance to stop by, we're right off of Main Street. I'd be happy to show you guys what some of these products look like and how they've held up to not only 30, 40 installers that we get in every day, but all the semi that deliver here and the drivers that come up. We get some pretty heavy traffic and it performs really well. Now, this one tends to be one of my more expensive ones. It's actually quite reasonable. It's a 20 mil with that extra ceramic bead in it, and we're at $3.99 on Antique Willow. We have 4 colors of this one. I don't know if you can see it very well on the video, but we stock 4 different colors in that one. They're beautiful. Derek and I, for a lot of you guys, you don't have time to get into town and find something that's going to look nice and going to match. And we kind of pride ourselves on being good at that. We've done the last three or four winners of the Parade of Homes here. And so we tried, although I don't look like the designer, well-dressed woman sitting here before you, but we're actually pretty good at it. So we're happy to help walk you through that if you don't have time to come and pick product yourself. Some of the other ones that we stock, this is another one that's been really good for us. You can see it's got some nice variation to it. This is called Lighthouse Gray. Derek and I have done this in several units. Some of you might have it in your existing units. It's beautiful. It's got this really pretty sapping in it. And I know the videos, I'm sure, not doing it justice, but it's gorgeous. There's a gray version of it, which is still super popular. And then there's kind of a lighter natural wood version of it. So I didn't want to bring up everything that we had in stock, but this one tends to be closer to that $3, $2.99, depending on where the market is currently, $2.99 to $3.50. So as far as comparison, Home Depot sells product that has, where these are 20 mil, they're 6 mil, a much thinner wear layer. They're going to be at like $3.28 a square foot. So they're actually more expensive for a much lower performing quality. The other thing that you have to factor in as far as pricing, so that's the material price. We're going to be about $2.99 to $3.99 is what you would typically expect. Every once in a while, we'll get a really good deal on a product that's being discontinued. So we can get something that's maybe longer and wider, so which is a little bit more expensive to make, has that thicker wear layer, and we can keep it at the $2.99 price. And that just kind of, if our timing's right. And that just depends on when we order it. And we don't always know when those are coming in. We just kind of wait for the deals. We've got a big warehouse, so we'll capture those and pass that savings on to you guys. Labor is $1.50 a square foot. And we don't make a cent on labor. So any of like the floor prep that they need to do when they're tearing out and when they're installing, we don't make a penny on that. It's just the going rate in Southern Utah. It's actually really good. If you go to St. George, they're closer to $2 a square foot. If you go to Salt Lake, they're $2 a square foot and higher. So we're kind of in a really good niche in our market as far as having fair pricing on labor. It seems like most everywhere else we go in either direction is more expensive. And these guys work really hard for their pay. So they deserve every penny of it. Now, that's going to put us at about $4.50 to $5.50 a square foot. So if we're doing 1,000 square foot unit, then we're looking at about $4,500 to $5,500 for the material and for the labor. So it's definitely more expensive than carpet, but the longevity. So sometimes we can give a pet-friendly option and it's going to last several years. We do have ways that we can do plank repairs. So if they scratch it or they drop a butcher knife or they just do something crazy and they're able to find a way to damage this floor, we have a way that we can do plank repairs. It's not easy, it's kind of difficult. But if you don't want to have to replace an entire room, sometimes we can pay an installer to go out and do a plank replacement. Any questions on that?
Looks like they're all sold, Rob.
Okay. So I won't talk your ear off too much, but we do try to keep a lot in stock. I've kind of given you a splash in the bucket of some of my best sellers. We do have more than that. We try to keep a nice variety of stock. As far as scheduling, one of the things that you are up against the most is time is money. It really is. When you have a tenant move out and you have a tenant that you want to get in, you have a small window where you can get us and then maybe even a painter or someone, whoever else, what other handyman you have to get in there to do repairs on the unit, make it look good and get it back on the market. We are very conscientious of that. So for example, this month we are doing 4 different schools here locally, but we keep some crews aside to get ready to knock out some of Derek's work and make sure that you guys aren't getting put on a back burner when something opens up. So we are very aware that you guys need those done quickly. So between having it in inventory and us just being really good at moving that calendar around and adjusting things however we need to adjust, we try to get you in within, sometimes it's in a couple days, sometimes in a couple weeks, but usually it doesn't go too much longer than that. Usually by the time you get a painter or anyone else that you might need to go in before us, we're ready to rock and roll and get it put back together and get that back on the market. Because really that's the most important thing. So we are always going to be trying to get you stuff that's looks beautiful. It's really fair price. I mean, this is an investment. If it's your personal home, sky's the limit on how much you want to spend on it because you just want what you want. But we try to be very conscientious of making sure we get you stuff at good quality, good pricing, and we get it done quickly and have really good installers. Make sure that installation's done right. So that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
All right, thanks, Rob. So like on that scheduling, like here's one of the reasons I love working with Rob and stuff. So if we already know if we're doing the inspections, a lot of times we're going to be telling you like, hey, we've got, we can go one more tenant on this flooring. And then when we work on the renewals about 2 months in advance, and we know they're going to be up, we can typically already have, the minute we get that notice, Rob in there within a week to get you a bid, and have it scheduled within a couple days after move out because we've given them a 6-week lead time. So it's been pretty quick and efficient to be able to do that. So
sometimes we do have that notice ahead of times and sometimes we don't, right? Every once in a while it's like, hey, we got a tenant moving in, we need to get this pad put in and a new piece of carpet in, and we jump on those quick. Derek, sorry I'm interrupting you. I saw a question asking if we go to Utah Valley. Yep. We do occasionally, it's not often. Usually we just have to pay for a trip charge for the guys to get up there. So you just have to reach out to me and let me know what you're looking at, what you'd like to have done, and I could get you an estimate.
Or just give up and sell your stuff, Michael, and reinvest it all in Iron County.
You could.
Yeah, him and I joke around about that all the time. So, but yeah, you got a winner there. He's excited about that. So, okay, so with that, once again, we appreciate you guys coming on. We'll be sending out a recording on this here within the week. Any questions or anything before we go? Okay. Well, thanks again. We appreciate you guys letting us manage your properties, and we'll talk to you soon.